that happened to peace in the colonies, for life, for liberty, and property. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a war that you need to fight in. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's some tea that's been taxed. When we need a split and we need it now, a snowball is thrown to start a war. Everywhere's a war, everywhere's a war.
The Tea Act passed by Parliament on May 10, 1773 was the last straw for the Americans. It was appointed by the British government as a way to control Boston's tea trade. And instead of the Americans being fined, they did not approve of this, which led to the later actions of the Boston Tea Party. Aha! On December 16, 1773, the Boston Tea Party started. The overall concept of the Boston Tea Party was the British putting taxes on tea and other things like that, and the Americans got super mad, so they decided to protest it. In more detail, the Americans dressed up like Mohawk Indians and threw the tea off ships into the ocean to act as a protest against the taxes. In even more detail, the Americans threw the tea off the Boston harbor, off of British trade ships, just to make that protest even larger. This protest was the cause of the Intolerable Acts, which was the king saying, we will not tolerate these things that you are doing, like throwing tea off a ship, and yeah.
The Committees of Correspondence were organized by the Patriot leaders of the 13 colonies, and it served as a majority network of communication. The first standing committee was formed by Samuel Adams and 20 other Patriot leaders in November of 1772. On the eve of the American Revolution, Adams and other Patriot leaders recognized the importance of the resistance and the power of correspondence. The Committees of Correspondence are most remembered by the story of Paul Revere's midnight ride and his message that the British are coming.
The British are coming! Oh no!
But although that was the message being carried, these words were fabricated and were never said by Revere. The story serves as a symbol of revolution itself and the reality of British oppression.
Tarring and feathering was a punishment that went back to the Middle Ages with Richard the Lionheart and the Crusades. It was not used again until the 1760s when the American colonists used it against the British. The Patriots would apply burning hot tar to the bare skin, which would cause painful blistering. Removing the tar would make the damage worse, and it was extremely hard to remove. Then they would add feathers on top as a way to humiliate them. The colonists started tarring and feathering because of the harsh way that the English were treating them.
Delegates from each of the 13 colonies met in Philadelphia during the Second Continental Congress in June of 1776 because they believed their rights were being threatened by taxation without representation. They decided to write the Declaration of Independence as a response to the harsh way Britain was treating them, which resulted in the colonies breaking away from England and forming their own government. Thomas Jefferson drafted the Declaration of Independence, and it took 17 days. It was voted on July 2nd, but we celebrated our independence on the 4th of July. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety and happiness.
That's not working. That's not working. I can't stop. No.
Okay. It's so good.